Will Village Roadshow's pirate hunt pay off?
And can Qantas's in-flight internet deliver the goods?
Vertical Hold is proudly brought to you by Alcatel. Welcome to Vertical Hold, the tech show where we channel surf through the headlines in search of the big picture. I'm Adam Turner, and this week I'm not joined by the man behind the Zorro mask, Alex Kidman. Alex is jetting over to Barcelona for Mobile World Congress, but we're keeping it in the family with Finder.com.au Editor-in-Chief Angus Kidman. Angus, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us is technology journalist with The Australian, David Swan. David, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here.
So, Adam, what's new in tech?
Optus has switched on its 4.5G mobile network in Sydney's Macquarie Park, promising potential speeds of up to 1 gigabit per second. The network will be rolled out across Australia's capital cities during 2017, while the telco works towards launching a 5G service in 2020. 5G trials are already hitting an impressive 35 gigabits per second. Aussies are about to be slugged more for their games, with online gaming giant Steam set to start charging the GST in July. The change comes as the federal government forges ahead with plans to scrap the $1,000 GST threshold for all foreign services selling more than $75,000 worth of goods and services in Australia each year. Not content with running your social life, Facebook wants to help you find your next job. Facebook users in the United States and Canada can search and apply for jobs directly from within the social media platform, and if it finds success, it might spread to other countries like Australia. NBN Co is only days away from shutting down its old interim satellite broadband service on February 28, which will leave regional users in the dark if they haven't moved to the new SkyMuster service. The SkyMuster satellites offer up to 25 megabits per second download and 5 megabits up, which is a major improvement on the old 6 down 1 up service. So Gus, we're only days away from the NBN turning off its old satellites, but there's still thousands of users that are yet to make the shift. What do you think will happen there?
Well, according to NBN, there's actually 1,000 users who haven't.
Oh, 1,000.
Only
Okay.
only 1,000 people. So, which it's a small proportion. As best as we can tell, there were somewhere around 45,000 people were on the interim service at its peak. So it's interesting that they've been trying to reach out to these people. They've been messaging them, ringing them, door knocking them in some instances. So it feels a bit like when digital television switched off, and you always knew there were going to be a few people who just didn't bother to upgrade their set and then complained the day that it stopped working.
Yeah.
So it's a small proportion of people who haven't made the shift. So I don't think that's where the discontent is. Where the thing that I've noticed is that there are still people who are on the old service who aren't particularly happy about going to the new service, despite the fact that it is notably faster and it should be much more reliable later this year when the second SkyMuster satellite is actually activated. The issue is that even though we're now on the official final NBN satellite, people are still being stuck with peak and off-peak, which is something you don't get with most NBN services, but it's still absolutely a feature of all the plans that are being offered to satellite customers. And I think a lot of people put up with that on the interim service and thought, okay, there's better times are coming, and there are better speed times are coming, but you're still seeing that peak off-peak thing, which feels kind of very early 2000s to anyone else using the internet, but it's a satellite reality.
David, would you put up with a peak off-peak service?
Yeah, no, thank you. It's rough, and I mean we've seen quite a backlash from some of this stuff from the rural areas. Some real kind of some real fire. They're not happy, and I think there's this kind of promise of SkyMuster, and I think people get excited before they're onto it, and then once they find they're onto it, there are all these limitations that they hadn't really factored in. I think the NBN still has this thing where it gets a lot of people excited about its promise and then is really failing to deliver.
I think for a lot of people, this is going to be out of figuring out how to use scheduled tasks with your BitTorrent client, which going back to old school, when the telcos would say, okay, you can have your downloads after midnight, and then they would get upset because at midnight the network would be choked, so they changed it to 1 a.m. so everyone would just change their scheduled task to 1 a.m. It's not like people were getting up at 1 a.m. to turn it on. Gus, how do you reckon it'll play out?
Yeah, I think there'll be a bit of that. Let's look on the bright side. At least you can now do downloads with Netflix, so you could actually be doing that with legal content rather than illegal content.
That's true.
I think it is worth remembering that the interim service was really popular. It was too popular. They ended up stopping letting people sign on to it this is back in about 2013 now, because there was so much pent-up demand from people who previously would have just had dial-up, didn't want to pay for satellite when that was a commercial proposition and really expensive. So for all that there might be, there's still these 1,000 people who haven't moved and who might be unhappy about it. But the fact is, having a service that, 10 times as many people can get onto still looks to me like a net gain, even if it's not. I agree with David. It's not what people thought they were going to get. Their expectations are so high that we can't really match them up. But it still feels to me like it's a bit of an improvement.
Yeah, I think all I'd add to that is I think the big test will be once the second SkyMuster satellite gets going. We might have a clearer indication as to if it really can deliver. We're obviously not there yet, so I think it's still a matter of wait and see.
So in another throwback to past decades, we've now got a major movie studio talking about trying to sue individuals for downloading movies. Adam, what's happening here?
Yeah, Village Roadshow, your friend and mine, have decided they've got their 5-point plan for fighting piracy. One of those 5 points is not sticking to their word and, not delaying movies anymore, because after they delayed the Lego movie and it cost them millions of dollars, they said, we won't make that mistake again. Right now, the Lego Batman movie is on in cinemas in the US, and we have to wait 7 weeks for it. So they can't even take their own advice on how to fight piracy, but their new plan is, let's block more of the piracy websites, because that's so effective, and let's start suing people again. Because, again, we all know how well that's panned out for them over the years. I just can't believe that it's like we're stuck in a time warp. They don't really seem to have learnt much going back. We're going back to the music piracy wars. We're going back 15 years here, and we kind of feel like we're back where we started. I don't know. What do you think, David? Are we making any progress in the debate over piracy?
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. I was going to say, it feels like I've been having the same discussion for about 10 years now. Yeah. And yes, I would have been about 15, but we're not going to go into that. We haven't come anywhere.
You're a baby.
Yeah, as I said, we're not going into that. We'll stay away from that topic. But, I mean, yeah, look, we're going round and round in circles, and I thought we had made progress when it came to things like Netflix, and obviously we've got this now. I mean, progress has been made when it comes to availability of content, and you do have good streaming options. Stan is good, Netflix is good. Foxtel is okay. We've got some okay options out there. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but it seems for whatever reason, the team over at Village Roadshow still don't fully get it.
Gus?
So the one thing I would say about this is that it's one thing to stand up in front of your shareholders and try and look all butch and say, hey, yes, we're going to go back into the courts and we're going to sue all these guys. I think harsh reality will play a point, and I think in some ways it's more that they want to get up and say, hey, we're going to do this, than they actually do it. Because it's pretty clear from what happened in the Dallas Buyers Club case that if they did sue, they'd have to be going for fairly low amounts of money. Amounts that are so low that I find it really hard to believe that the cost of the QC putting up that case would be worth it. And they're a listed company. At some point, their shareholders might have something to say about that. So I think it's a manifestly dumb idea, but until I get the first evidence of the person who's actually been sent the legal letter, I'm going to assume that the scare tactic might be more important than what's actually going to happen.
That's what you have to keep in mind, is that the Dallas Buyers Club case, they didn't lose. They won. The judge was happy to force the ISPs to play ball through the courts and get them to hand over the names of people who've downloaded the movies. The only reason why the case didn't go through is because the judge didn't trust the Dallas Buyers Club people. They thought they were going to use extortion tactics and speculative invoicing. Basically, you owe us a lot of money and pay some of it now, or we'll drag you through the courts, and just hope people will hand over thousands of dollars. And the judge said, that's not on. I want a deposit from you up front to prove that you're not going to do that. And they went, okay, we'll just walk away. So they won. And the only reason why they didn't get what they want is because they wouldn't commit to not, extorting people. If Village Roadshow make that commitment, then they probably will get what they want. They probably will be able to force this system to work. But as you say, is it worth it if you can only fine people the cost of the movie?
Probably not, I would suspect. But I think it's all about, everyone already hates them anyway. They might as well go down that path. It's not like they're going to get any corporate goodwill. So they might as well pursue something that looks like it's going to make them some money.
David, what do you think's the best approach?
Yeah, I look at it as a carrot and stick situation, and I think we need more carrot and less stick.
They don't seem to understand carrot though, or even if they do, like they realise that they dropped the ball with the last Lego movie, and Graham Burke said we won't make that mistake again, and then they did it again. Like, they know this is going on. They need a show of good faith. They just like the TV networks, they've treated Australians so badly for so long that they need to, rather than just threatening with a bigger and bigger stick, which clearly won't achieve anything. If the Dallas Buyers Club didn't scare you into stop downloading stuff, then nothing really will. All it's doing is driving people underground. You got VPNs, SOCKS 5 proxies, DNS workarounds, or maybe not some. Yeah, but there's enough ways to do it that anyone with half a brain won't get caught. So it is time, as you say, to pull out the carrot and actually think about how can we win these people back.
That's right. And I think what we've seen is enough stick to weed out, and enough carrot, probably, to be fair as well. Like I was mentioning with the Netflix stuff. But
that's not coming from Village Roadshow.
No. But it exists, and if you're, I think the idea of casual piracy is largely gone now, at least from anecdotally. What I notice amongst my peer group, they're happy to pay the few bucks a month or whatever it is. So I think what you are left with is then a sophisticated group of pirates who will use VPNs and will use workarounds, who probably you won't catch when you're going after pirates anyway. The pool has probably just shrunk hugely in terms of just casual downloading. So it's just literally not worth going after those users.
I'm looking forward to the first person who's received both a legal letter about movie downloading and a Centrelink debt notice.
That is the daily double. If that story lands on your desk, you are blessed as a journalist. So, Gus, you're a bit of a jet setter. What have we heard about this Qantas in-flight internet service?
Well, we've known since last year that Qantas was planning to roll out an in-flight internet service on all its domestic flights this year, and that in fact it was going to use the NBN SkyMuster satellites to do it. What we've learned this week is that Qantas ran a trial flight. They put 140 staff members on this charter flight from Sydney to Brisbane, equipped it with the Wi-Fi connected to SkyMuster, and said to them all, hey, try doing all these things, try downloading apps, try watching movies. We want to work out what speeds people can actually get. And it went, by all accounts, it went pretty well. They had typical speeds ranging between 7 and 12 megabits per second. So that's not, it's not anywhere near the potential SkyMuster, but it's enough. You would be able to do decent streaming, not 4K streaming, but normal streaming. Yeah. You'd be able to check your email, you'd be able to do those things. So if that's service level can be maintained on a normal flight, then it sounds like in-flight internet will be pretty good. And one of the really nice things about it that we've also known for a while is it will be free. You won't have to pay for it, unlike the experience that most of us have had in the US. So yeah, I'm kind of getting excited by this now.
And that's for the schmoes down the back too, not just for business class?
Yes, it applies throughout the entire plane. I thought they'd do a split where they'd make you pay in economy class and they'd give out voucher codes to business class. That's a pretty common approach. But no, I think they've decided that it's worth investing and giving it to everyone. And to be honest, there's a long-term plan here. If you have functional Wi-Fi throughout the plane, you can get rid of seatback entertainment. You can make your actual plane maintenance costs a lot lower because you can safely assume that most people will have a device with them. So in the long run, even though it's obviously expensive if you're doing things like running trial flights filled with your staff just to see how the speed goes, in the long run, it's probably both a better customer experience but also actually a bit cheaper to maintain.
I've been on a few flights to Sydney recently where there have been no screens in the back of the seats, but tablets in the chair. So everyone was given a tablet, and there is in-plane Wi-Fi for streaming stuff. So obviously the infrastructure is already there to go with this.
Yes, it's just a matter of upgrading to get that connection out to the satellite in a lot of planes, because that trial system, both with iPads and with your own devices, has been rolled out by Qantas for a while. Virgin have something similar. Virgin are also planning to do a service this year, but not NBN based, as I recall.
So, David, you interested in the Qantas Wi-Fi Mile High Club?
Well, not when you put it that way. But and I am also more of a Virgin man, I have to say, in terms of, obviously, you guys would both know when you do fly, often you have to pick one or the other in order to rack up those sweet status points and all that. So I won't be probably using it anytime soon. But, I mean, hell yeah, anything that... It's essentially dead time, right? Often when you're flying that, you just have to read a book or do something non-productive. So if I can use this couple of hours here, a couple of hours there to really kill some of my emails, then I think that's great.
Yeah, I write on planes all the time because I can write while I'm offline. It's kind of good not to have the distractions of emails and people trying to contact me and all that stuff. I'm a little bit worried that once you're working with someone who knows that you're on a flight yet they can still reach you, they will expect you to respond to things mid-flight. You're breaking up. I'm going through the tunnel. You're going to have to start fake being on a plane with broken Wi-Fi just so you don't have to get back to them.
Well, it's interesting on that point. Qantas's own estimate is they say they think roughly 50% of the passengers will use it. That feels like lowballing it to me. I don't know whether people will use it the whole way through the flight, but if you think of where we're at with mobile phone penetration, which is essentially 100%, then I would be amazed if more people didn't make at least some use of it, even if they weren't using it throughout the flight. What do you guys reckon?
If it's free, yeah, absolutely.
And look, to be honest, like on the Virgin flights that I take, and as you guys mentioned earlier, they do have a kind of limited service at the moment where there's obviously some sort of server serving content locally, but you can't access the net with it. But just taking a cursory look around the flight, most people almost, I'd say, have iPads out and are using that. The sky's the limit, you could say.
Please don't. That just about wraps it up for this episode of Vertical Hold.
If you've got any thoughts about the topics we've discussed, drop us a line via Twitter or on the Vertical Hold Facebook page. Gus, thanks for joining us.
Always fun.
David, thanks for being with us again.
Of course.
Thanks for listening, and remember, if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button. Vertical Hold is proudly brought to you by Alcatel.
So when Adam comes back, we should totally be speaking in French or something just to totally throw it.
Look, if I knew how.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much oui is the only word I've got.